Update 10.4 is dropping on April 30th, so it's time to discuss what's coming with this pretty sizable update to Squad. There's a lot here to cover, most notably Gunplay updates, which is something we've been waiting on, and playtesting. You can also expect to see some adjustments to the IMF, and some of you may see a slight improvement to performance. We're gonna break all this down, but first hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below to start up a conversation, or join the Discord, which will be linked in the description. We recently launched memberships if you'd like to join up to support the channel, and of course you can always use my code SLATE3K30 at the link in the description below for 30% off of Squad. Let's start off by talking about the engine update from 5.5 to 5.7 and how this affects you. We've talked a lot about this in my recent dev blog interview video where I talked to Norby and Aussie. What I learned from that is that this update to the engine isn't necessarily just going to magically do anything for performance or optimization. You may see some slight improvements, especially on a list of maps that they've gone in and done some general optimizations to create a baseline for where they want all the maps to be until they can do more significant overhauls. The maps included in 10.4 that have seen a baseline performance improvement would be Harju, Narva, Mudaha, Al-Basra, Yeharifka, Fallujah, and Gorodok. With the engine update, it's really about moving the pipeline along through development so that we can hopefully see some more significant updates to performance and optimization sooner than later. And those optimizations come with the tools presented in 5.7 on their development branch. But it does seem like DLSS is getting updated to version 4.5, and some GPU crash fixes have been added that were present in previous engine versions. Next, we should talk about maybe the most significant thing that many of you are waiting on, and that is the Gunplay overhaul. We've talked a lot about this in my previous videos focused on the open playtests. Many of you have concerns about what you saw in those playtests, but I don't think this is the end-all be-all of Gunplay. But it goes without saying that this is the most significant change to Gunplay since the infantry combat overhaul. So what are you going to notice? First, ADS times have been sped up, especially for scoped weapons or heavy weapons. So when going to ADS, you're going to notice that it's a little bit quicker. Both horizontal and vertical recoil have been adjusted across all infantry weapons. This is certainly an area that's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment. It's going to take some time to get used to. And so will the reworked sway on all infantry weapons. The intent has been to make it slower and more predictable. But if you watch my playtest videos, I've found this to be maybe the most distracting thing. Whether there's been changes to any of these systems since the last playtests, I'm not sure. But the changes will be noticeable, and I'm interested to see if it does play similar to the last open playtest. Now, something else that's changing that's kind of adjacent to Gunplay would be stamina. And it's been adjusted when sprinting. In fact, your character is going to burn 30% less stamina while in full sprint, meaning infantry will be able to cover a little bit more ground while running. Regardless of what you think of some of the other changes, I think this is definitely a positive change. There's been a lot of dialogue on Gunplay since the infantry combat overhaul, the adjustments that were made after, and now today we still have a ton of dialogue around this. And that's probably never going to stop. My initial opinion during the playtest has been that the sway feels a little bit disconnected and that recoil feels a little jumpy or floaty more than what I'm accustomed to. And if nothing's been tweaked since that last playtest, then I imagine my reaction at first will be the same. Maybe I will get used to some of those elements, but it is going to take an adjustment period, probably for everybody. But I am curious to see the larger reaction from the community. I will note that I do not think suppression is going to be at all changed with 10.4. In the most recent playtest, we were still using the live version of suppression, the same thing you see in 10.3. I think there are plans to address suppression, just not exactly sure when. Now, there has been some vehicle tuning done in 10.4. Tracked vehicles are going to see a little bit better handling and less of the wheels sinking into the ground, which can cause them to slow or get stuck. Tracked and wheeled vehicles should see improvements to climbing objects or various slopes. Tracked vehicles may see some improvements to allow them to climb over lower objects like small fences or rocks. And as a result of these changes, they may also see better handling. It does appear that vehicle turret rotation sounds are getting some adjustments. For example, all vehicle turrets once again have a turret rotation audio cue. The gunner will hear this, but the sound is disabled from anyone inside the vehicle. However, if you're outside the vehicle, you will be able to hear it. This change also extends over to using emplacements. People around the emplacement will be able to hear the rotation of the weapon. Next, we have some new map layers coming to Squad. 4 in total, 2 from the community being Gorodok Invasion 4 and Harju Invasion 3. Then there will be a new experimental layer added to Al-Basra with Random Advanced Secure version 3 and a new layer for Fallujah Invasion version 3. You may have also seen a recent post on Steam referencing the IMF and some adjustments coming to the faction to return them more to the IMF of old. So with 10.4, you're going to see the FN FAL return with both frag and heat rifle grenade variants. This will remove the AK-74U and the RPG-7 frag and heat from the LAT and Grenadier kits. You'll see the M4 Classic, the M16 with the 3x20 scope, and the M16 with the M203 all being added for the IMF and replacing some of the other weaponry. Future plans not included in 10.4 also include the T64B, the RKG-3 rework, and an upgraded BM21 grad, along with a new flag that is voted on by the community. Speaking of weapons, it does seem that the British Armed Forces IMLAW is getting a little bit of an update. I don't play much AT, so some of you guys will understand this better than I will, but it does seem like the predicted line of sight mode has seen some fixes. It seems that the guidance mode has been reworked, and in this mode, the IMLAW is able to track target's movement in the shooter's view on both vertical and the horizontal axis. There's some additional changes that I'm less familiar with coming in 10.4 that I don't know that I saw in playtesting. For example, it looks like they fixed the wrist bone rotation. Looks like there's now a shuffling while turning with a bipod, animation improvements to deploy actions for emplacement weapons. The PLA Z9A helicopter will now have retractable landing gear, and there appears to be more updates to bipods. Now, of course, this is an early look at the patch notes, and there are some other changes here that I'm less familiar with, smaller stuff like maybe a sound change or something along those lines. Now, there has been some updates for Squad Fireteam, including some new missions based around the sphere. This is sort of, if you know kind of territory, but in total, it looks like there's going to be 3 new missions. There's going to be some improvements in quality of life updates attached to Fireteam, including some mission balancing. For example, as a player, you're going to get a tree of objectives on your mini-map. Hosts will get a replay button added to the end of round screen. Mission select looks slightly different, a little bit revamped with icons that help you understand what category or pack they belong to, as well as mission types. And it looks like there's some mission startup information that pops up for players. There's some more here, including a massive list of bug fixes, which I will let you guys check out in the official patch notes once they are released. But it's worth noting that Squidbots has also seen significant updates. They're now going to suppress suspected enemy locations, but they are no longer guaranteed 100% accuracy with grenade throws. It also looks like the bots will no longer aim just for the head, but instead they will aim for the chest. And while they may now have a relaxed state when they are not alert, they seem to also be tuned to be more accurate and deadly. Now, there is a massive list of general gameplay bug fixes, and it's almost impossible for me to name all of these in a video in a concise manner. What I am seeing is everything from some audio fixes, collision fixes, some faction-specific stuff or battle group-specific adjustments, maybe some map fixes. There's a lot of stuff packed in here. In fact, in my early preview of the patch notes, I'm looking at several pages worth of stuff in a bulleted list. And because there's so much there, I'm not going to dive into it. It'll be available in the official patch notes, which will also include any changes between now and then. The community is largely going to look at 10.4 for Gunplay, the updates that we've been waiting on for quite some time. We first heard about some of these Gunplay updates coming back in the fall. So it's good to see progress in this area, though I don't think everybody's going to be on board for the mechanics that they're going to feel, which is pretty natural. It's going to be divisive regardless of what you do. My hope is that beyond 10.4, we can still plan to see tweaks and adjustments to Gunplay. I think that will probably be the case, especially dependent on community feedback. If you watched my last playtest video, I talked a lot about picture-in-picture scopes and the complexity there that may be interfering with our ability to really enjoy Gunplay or look at the changes in the appropriate way, and I still think that is a significant task to handle, especially when we just talk about the performance of picture-in-picture scopes. I know there'll be plenty of people that'll just say Gunplay bad still, but I think largely, a lot of folks that haven't played in the playtest, which is the majority of the community, needs to give it a shot, check it out, and apply feedback when Offworld asks for feedback. Outside of that, I really hope that the engine switching from 5.5 to 5.7 offers opportunities in the near future to see continued optimization and performance improvements. And it's always good to see bug fixes or gameplay adjustments and things that should improve the experience, the immersion, and all that jazz. I'm still waiting for my explosions and some of the textures to be fixed, which I think will be coming up soon or in the next couple of updates. And then hopefully we start to get to a place where the game begins to feel better and plays better. Not to mention, we need something to address stale gameplay, and that goes beyond just adding new content. While you can enjoy a new faction, new vehicles, and so on, it would be really helpful to see maybe some new maps, continued additions to new layers, but also game modes. Though I do put a lot of importance on the idea that we need to get the game in a better condition before trying to bring in new players based on just content. And I say all that to say that I don't think 10.4 is really a landing spot for a lot of the things that have changed in the game. This is more of an in-progress step. We're still moving. This potentially opens up doors for better performance and optimization because of the tools that 5.7 allows. This is an in-progress step for even the IMF because they still have updates to come. Suppression is largely tied to gunplay, and that is not incorporated in here. So I'd look at this update very much as a part of the process. That as a player, I feel sort of oddly in the middle of what we've known about Squad and where Squad might be able to go if Offworld's able to meet some of the expectations they have set out. Now, with all that said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Of course, be sure to join the conversation down in the comments, or you can join my Discord in the description below. Be sure to subscribe, but remember, you can also now become a member of the channel to help support the channel and its growth. And with all that, take care. I'll see you next time.